and you don't know what they are. And what's interesting is that it affects, here he comes again to get out with the public. But things happen both with the president and the first lady. And Laura Bush was very clear about how she learned so much and learned about that pulpit that Lucy Johnson was talking about, that her mother always said, that to be the first lady is to have a pulpit, and I plan to use it. And Laura Bush discovered that she really could use that pulpit for things she had never even heard of before the presidency, the women of Afghanistan, the government in Burma. So I think that regardless of the preparation and the things that have come before, there are going to be things that happen while they're there that will shape them and shape the presidency and shape the First Lady's job as well.
And this is the final term.
Pennsylvania. Donna Brazil, are you there?
No, Donna's not with us either.
She's okay.
It's just Cokie and I.
We have a panel of distinguished historians, and we have Sally Quinn has joined us here in the studio.
They're in another room. I apologize, and I can't see. I can't see the moving targets here. Sally Quinn has joined us, long a reporter in Washington, and knows a lot about the social scene in Washington. And we've been talking about, Sally, about the fact that that this couple has made it a stated intention to be very involved in this city. And that's something that we haven't seen in a while.
Well, one of the things that's never happened before is to have a president and a first lady who have been involved in the actual Washington community. It's only 650,000 people here, and it's a majority black city. But when you talk about Washington, particularly when people go out and campaign against Washington, they're really talking about official Washington, the administration and the Congress and the Senate and the diplomatic corps. But they're not talking about the people who actually live here. And Michelle Obama and Barack Obama have both said, you know, we're community organizers. That's what we did in Chicago. And they have made a real point of saying we want to be part of this community and we want to be neighbors. These are our neighbors. We want to get to know them. We haven't had that with the Bushes. When they came to Washington, they basically said, we're not going to make any new friends here. And they didn't. They stuck with their old pals. And the Obamas are exactly the opposite. I mean, they've already reached out. They've made friends with Mayor Fenty, Adrian Fenty, and his wife Michelle, who are a very attractive couple. They've been going out to various restaurants already, and Ben's Chili Bowl, and really doing the neighborhood thing. Their big ball tonight is the neighborhood ball, which is free for a lot of the neighborhood people who couldn't afford to get in, and that's where all the big stars are going to be. Beyonce, that's where their first dance is going to be. So they're really looking at this and saying, you know, this is a community, we can do something about this. With a small community, and Washington has got a lot of problems with crime and drugs and education and infant mortality. They could focus on this city and turn it around and make it the jewel in the crown that it should be, because it is the capital of the world, and they can make it a model city. And I think that's what Michelle Obama is going to do.
Well, one of the things also that we were talking about earlier, and I bring in Carl Anthony on this because Carl knows so much about first ladies and the way they operate, but part of it, Sally, is the fact when you have young kids, that so much of your life revolves around parents of the kids that your daughters are friends with. And given the fact that kids who are 10 and 7, as Malia and Sasha are, they have activities on the weekend. So presumably that will limit or constrain the number of visits that are outside of town or that are made to Camp David. And that sort of by nature brings them more into the community.
Yes, and I also think that, you know, Mrs. Obama's statement that she's her first priority to focus on the family and the home is very important. It's an important part of the presidency. It is not unrelated because it provides a sense of grounding, a sense of foundation, a base for them and for the president from which he can work. There's a study upstairs, and I think one of the benefits for the family is going to be the fact that he will be home a lot of the time, not all of the time, of course. There'll be a lot of trips, international trips, and if it's during the school year, the parents and the kids will not be able to be together. But Michelle Obama has played a very important role already. You know, earlier today, Charlie, we were talking about his sense of confidence, the president's sense of confidence. And, you know, he refers to Mrs. Obama as his rock. I think there's something very important in the family in which she brought him. You know, Laura Bush, Jackie Kennedy became part of the clans, of the Kennedy and the Bush clans, the powerful, large clans. But Barack Obama really was, in many ways, a lone person with his mother and stepfather and sister living in Indonesia, his grandparents in Hawaii. It was Michelle Obama with her mother, her brother, and her father who really brought the Chicago, I think, into Barack Obama. And I think that's an important role she will continue to play as First Lady.
And Carl, yes, he said, she's the voice I hear inside my head when I'm making decisions. She's the voice I hear.
And that's also a very, you know, these are subtle things. People are trying to set up these contrasts between traditionalist, activist. You don't have to be behind policy to have an influence on the presidency. And you know, that's an important, I just have to throw this in, you know, the historian impulse. It's exactly 100 years ago, this inaugural, that Mrs. Taft actually became the first lady to join her husband down Pennsylvania Avenue. And she was a supporter of suffrage. She actually, although people remember her from the cherry blossoms, she was the first lady who sponsored federal legislation, health and safety in the federal workplace. And so there was an interest in the community of Washington, the workers, the people, the everyday people who work for the federal government. And I think you're going to see that sort of fusion of what we think of as traditionalist activists in Michelle Obama.
And Sally, to go back to you and this moment, you have seen so many presidential couples make this walk. Just look at this one for us. What detail strikes you?
Well, I get the sense, first of all, that they're more youthful than most of the president and first lady that we've seen. But I agree with Carl that I think that one of the things that Michelle Obama does is she's an incredibly regal, authoritative, and very confident person. And people keep saying, where does he get his confidence? And clearly he is a very confident person, but so is she. And I think that it takes an incredibly confident woman to say, I'm going to be the mom-in-chief. Because here's someone who's a Harvard Law School graduate and a very successful professional woman, and yet she can say, you know, my family is my priority right now. I'm going to take time to make sure that they get settled before I do what it is that and she will do something extraordinary. There's no question about it. She's got the platform, and she obviously has the ambition and the will to do that. But I think we have an expression in our family, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. and Michelle Obama, I think, she's going to be the rock. She's going to be the one who's happy, keeping the children happy. That'll keep him happy, and I think that's going to make him a much better president. And I don't think it diminishes her at all. I know a lot of the feminists have said, you know, this is ridiculous. She shouldn't be mom-in-chief. It diminishes women. But it doesn't. It makes women stronger, and only a really strong and confident woman can do what she has said she's going to do.
All right, Sally Quinn, thanks very much. And Carl Anthony. Kate Snow is in the stand just across from the presidential reviewing stand. And Kate, geographically, sort of bring me up to date to what happened. The president walked past the reviewing stand and up past the old executive office building, and it looks like he got back in the car and they're going up 17th Street away from where the reviewing stand is.
That's right, Charlie, because what they'll do now is they'll loop around and essentially go into the White House grounds to their new home. We understand they may go into the White House for a spell to warm up for a couple of minutes, and then they'll come in the back side of the reviewing stand, which is what I'm facing now, right here on Pennsylvania Avenue. This is this grand structure that they erect here where the families will sit. It's enclosed in glass, the main part of it is, and that's for security purposes. I can tell you, though, that a lot of the family members are already here. If you can look at a picture right now, you can see the family of Joe Biden on the right side of the box there. Tons of kids. All of his grandchildren are here. His sister, his brother are here, and the grandkids. And we've been joking that it almost looks like a daycare over there, Charlie, with so many young faces pressed up against the glass. Over to the left, I don't know if you can see right now, but there is Marion Robinson, the mother of Michelle, and her brother Craig Robinson is sitting to her left. And also, Alma Obama is standing. She's the woman taking pictures right now. She's wearing a red scarf. She has come all the way from Kenya. She is the half-sister of President Obama. In fact, 3 members of his family from Kenya flew all the way in from Kenya. And right now, walking right in front of the reviewing stand, if we have that shot, is Joe Biden and Jill Biden waving at their family.
I suspect they'll head up into the reviewing stand, and I would suspect also that President and Mrs. Obama ought to make their stop in the White House rather brief, because the parade is already going by us here at the museum, and it will be up in the vicinity of the White House very quickly, and this parade will get underway.
For the record, first leg of their walk, 8 minutes. Second leg, 7 minutes in 28-degree temperature, though it feels like 16 with a wind chill.
Something we'll probably have to memorize as we study notes for the next inauguration. Let's see now. Obama was out 8 minutes first time and 7 minutes second time. Okay, that compares with...
There'll be a quiz.
There will be a quiz indeed. But all this stuff gets recorded, and